Welcome back to part 4 of my discussion with a few of my closest friends, Satoya, Tia, Sandy, Christy, Mickey, and my daughter China, as we get vulnerable about vulnerability.
And then him not knowing what to say, and then me having to explain further after I already poured myself out. So I'm looking for dregs to try and explain the nuances of what I'm feeling. It almost eliminates what could have been a precious healing moment, and it makes it harder.
Wow.
So it's really layered. And
Little complicated.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a marriage where one may have had a much more healthy environment growing up. And because I know oftentimes Brian will say, I don't get it, I don't understand it, but he'll say, help me understand. And immediately I think, there's no possible way I could tell you and you have any idea of what that means. Like, but further, I don't want you to see that dirty part of my heart. That's dirty. That's imperfect. It's very cluttered, and I'm not sure I've mastered it yet. And if I show you that part way back then, you'll find a similarity now that you can correlate it to.
Yes.
And I don't want you to correlate my imperfections. Just stay out of the bathroom where it's dirty. And I think as women, it may be a little bit harder for, well, I don't know, I'm not a man. Never been, don't plan on being.
Good news.
You know, because I've heard men say it's more difficult for them to be vulnerable with other men, but I've just been really astounded at the amount of women that say, thank you for finally being vulnerable. There's no vulnerability from where they're standing, the view in their church or in their community or in their family. And it's like, really? I just have to show you my junk for you to know we are all pretty imperfect, like beautifully imperfect. What is...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just think we all end up buying the lie that we're alone.
Yeah.
Nobody else has struggled with this before. And how in the world are you going to relate to my struggle? You know, how in the world is it ever going to be safe if I open up to you? Because then you'll see not only my bathroom, but you're going to see my kitchen and my basement. And, you know, so I think it's just so refreshing to hear from other people, especially women, to know that we're not alone. Yeah. And we don't have to walk alone. And if we can get over ourselves enough, because I think that unsafety and that fear is just that, it's fear. It's that fear of what is she going to think or what are they going to think? And if we can get over that fear of man and that pride in ourselves, we can have authentic, honest, living communities. But that's a big risk.
It's such a big risk.
But I think it's such a burden off of shoulders.
Yeah.
In a way, when you can finally be honest and say, I don't have it all together. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm never going to have it together. But can we do this together? Will you walk with me in this? And what seems ugly could actually be really beautiful.
So to follow up with the risk that you talk about, it's risky. Oftentimes it's worth the risk. So my question that I want to explore is, once we are vulnerable, we take the courage that it takes, we get up the courage to be vulnerable. What do you think we are really after in that place of being vulnerable? Because I know oftentimes I feel like, especially if I'm talking to Brian, he'll say, I've heard you. What do you want from me? Do you want me just to listen? Do you want me to fix this? Because oftentimes I'm not looking for a fix. Mm-hmm. The release comes for me in just being heard. What are we after? Are we after truth? Are we after empathy? What do we really want? It's probably a case-by-case basis, but what, like for you, Mickey, what is...
Well, I think that goes back to the word brave for me. I actually have in the front of my planner, I have some papers that I cut out at the beginning of the year and things that I kind of wanted to always remember every day. And one of them is a pretty long quote about vulnerability. And so for me, being vulnerable is for myself. You know, like it's a way I choose to be brave every day. So I have to pick up vulnerability every day, and I have to say, okay, I'm going to commit again to doing this. You know, because you said I don't know if I've mastered it. I don't think I'm ever going to master it. I mean, I'm just pretty much settled. It's never going to be mastered. I have to pick it up every day. And it's not about the reaction I get from somebody else, because I can't be sure that somebody is going to give me back what I need. But it's more about did I do what I needed to do? So because, like I said earlier, for me, vulnerability, like, am I willing to go after the joy and what might bring disappointment? Yeah. Because I tend to, like, if it's something that's good, right, that could happen to me, I tend to pretend like it's not there until it happens, and then I can be happy about it. And Tia's smiling because recently, so the way I've tried to kind of deal with that is I'm at least going to tell somebody about it. And I had this thing that some friends had nominated me for, and it's like this, you know, writing, speaking thing. Yeah, that. And I thought, I mean, I was excited about it, and I was like, oh, wow, this would be really cool, but, you know, what if they don't choose me? And, you know, I mean, I'm really nobody. They're not going to choose me. They probably have a bunch of people to pick from, and, you know, this isn't going to happen, you know, and you know, telling myself all these bad things. But, you know, of course I told Casey, my husband, about it, but I didn't really tell anybody else. And I called, and Tia and I were talking, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to tell Tia. And I don't even remember what I said to you, but I probably really downplayed it. I was like, well, I'm up for this thing, but, you know, I don't know how it's going to go, and I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I want to tell somebody, so I'm not just holding it completely in, you know, but it's hard for me to get excited about it, because if it doesn't happen. I just can't let my heart get attached to it, you know? But that's being vulnerable, to say, I will allow myself to have the joy and the excitement of waiting, of seeing if it's going to happen, you know? Because that can be, you know, that's kind of a fun thing in your heart, you know? And I just let it out, at least to one person. That for me was a step. And then when it happened, I was able to call her back and go, I got it, you know? And so that it allowed me to be vulnerable to that experience of anticipatory joy, you know? So.
But was your heart fully prepared in case you didn't get it?
Well, I think those are, like you said, almost sides of the same coin, right? Like, you have to expose yourself for whatever to happen.
Yeah.
You know, but if I'm always focused on the negative, which is kind of where I go naturally, it's like, oh, it's just not going to happen. I have to expose myself. Like, I have to be vulnerable to the potential joy of it happening. And so that's a big step for me, to be able to expose myself to that possibility of joy, you know? So I don't know what that was like for you on the other side of that, but that was really vulnerable for me, to be excited about something that could happen.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to focus on how it's never going to happen. You know, that seems safer. That seems safer to be like,
Worse.
You're right. I just remember the word. It's never going to happen for me. Yeah, bad.
So did that change your reaction when it did happen? I mean, did it change, like, your feelings and your emotions, the joy that you felt because you were able to be vulnerable with somebody who could celebrate with you?
I mean, it allowed me to just, it was another kind of like check in the joy column, like, it's okay to be excited about things. You know, but it affects everything. Like, it affects how I mother. Like, I really don't tell my children we're going anywhere until we're going out the door. Hey, kids, we're going to the zoo. When? Right now. Get in the car. Because, like,
Just in case.
I don't want them to be, yes, what if something happens and then you don't get it and then you're sad?
Wow.
So it's this, like, keeping joy out of your life, because what if it doesn't actually happen? And so that's a way, like, not being vulnerable can steal your life from you. And I've had, like, that has been my life, because I come from a long line of, like, kind of negative women that have just had to, like, do what they had to do, you know? And so I think they also didn't welcome that joy into their lives. And then I picked that up.
Maybe it's not even just keeping joy. Maybe it's just like the delaying.
Yeah.
It's like a don't get your hopes up kind of mentality, you know?
Yeah.
Don't get your hopes up because you're going to be disappointed.
That's the thing.
And that's that, I mean, that's like that internal vulnerability, right? I mean, I think a lot of times we think of vulnerability as, you know, between two people. Like, I'm going to make myself vulnerable to you. But a huge part of this whole vulnerability discussion, I think, is how we learn to be vulnerable with ourselves. And to be honest with ourselves. And I think that's what Mickey did in that moment, and which was very honoring to me, the fact that she was working through her own questions about her character, about what does this say about me, that I can't even get my hopes up about being honored in this way. And to say, I'm gonna press through that, and you're the person who I want to help me. You know, because she didn't just say, just so you know, I have this thing and I might get it, I don't know, but I just wanted you to know. She said, I feel like I need to be vulnerable right now. And I feel like I need to share this with somebody because I recognize that I do this and I want to change.
Wow.
And see, that takes it to a whole nother level. That's what's under the iceberg.
Yeah. Tune in next time as we continue our discussion on vulnerability, on women, body, mind, soul, and spirit.